Can everyone see my screen? Yeah, all good. Wonderful. I'm up at Pearl Beach, which is up on the Central Coast, which is where we're locking down. But the downside is the internet can be a little bit dodgy. So fingers crossed for the internet gods. Okay. So the holistic marketing model. So to get started, just in the chat box, let me know how many years you have been in marketing. Oh, 20 plus, 8, 5, 20 eek, 5, 5, 7, 10 plus, 25, 20 plus, 7, 1, 20 plus, 25, 6, 6, 4. Okay, needless to say, we've got a really broad spectrum. Myself, I've been in marketing for about 25 years. So yes, it is aging me somewhat. But I guess the joy of marketing is that it's always changing. And so the second question I have is, in the chat box, I'd like for you to share how knowledgeable do you feel about marketing, and basically marketing that you see end to end. There's no right or wrong answer here. It doesn't matter if you've got 1 year experience or 20 years of experience. It's how confident or knowledgeable do you feel? Okay, so we've got 80, 40, 60, 60, 50, 80, 60, 60, 60, 50, 60, 55, 85. It depends. That's a good point, Raz, because it does depend on the area. I think I would also go with the it depends, because I feel like my knowledge broadly is strong, but if you were to kind of challenge me on some of the executional details of the specialist phase, I would definitely be stepping back and saying, I don't know how to do that in detail, but I do understand how it fits in. So what are the right questions? So the point of this is just basically to highlight to everyone, no matter what your level of experience, I don't believe today there is anyone that knows marketing end to end, in depth, as well as holistically. And if I go back to when I started in marketing, back in the 90s, then you could actually pretty much know marketing end to end if you had about 10 years plus experience, because there were only so many aspects of marketing. But today that's completely different. And so what we're going to be talking about is how do we rethink marketing in a way that makes sense of all the specialisms as well as all of the holistic knowledge that's required to deliver business outcomes. Does that sound good to people? Good. Okay. So just a bit of a recap. Why has marketing become so complicated? Okay, so marketing skills have exploded exponentially, and it's not just since COVID, as we know. If we go back to when I started in marketing, okay, not the 80s, but the 90s, it was very much defined. It was an established best practice. It built off all the knowledge that came from the 60s, all the stuff we saw in Mad Men. And it was all about how do you get better and optimize what was a very established and known model. When digital happened, so the internet first came out around early 2000s, but it really started to impact the world, and in particular the world of marketing, around 2005. And that's when suddenly everyone stepped back and went, oh, hold on, there are other ways to engage customers. And actually all these customers seem to be going to these new digital places. What about websites? Websites was a massive thing back at this time. The point here though, is that it was a plus. So rather than digital marketing replacing traditional marketing, it was on top of. Fast forward a bit further, and then customer experience became a thing. So customer experience being understanding how the customer responds rather than just what's our intent. And customer experience really came about because of the transparency, because companies couldn't hide behind just a brand. Consumers could find out about that company. They could evaluate the company who was putting out these brands. And so suddenly it became a lot more important to listen to the feedback of customers to make sure that we were actually meeting their needs and being their first choice. But that was also enabled through technology. Technology gave customers a voice that couldn't be ignored. And again, this was a plus. And so if we fast forward to current day, if you think about technology, which is underpinned this, technology has reached a point, a ubiquitous point, where it has high and fast impact. And it's through data, systems, cloud, broadband, all of those wonderful things. But then coming out of that technology is also the speed of how marketing is evolving. So personalization first started to become a thing around 2016, when we could actually start to market to customers by channel or with more specific personalized elements. And on top of that, artificial intelligence, which is based in technology, but again, it delivers a different way to be able to engage and connect with customers. Now, the point here is it's all plus, plus, plus. So it's not that marketing is one thing and it's been replaced by another thing. It's that marketing has grown exponentially. And that's why within organizations, there's been a great need to set up different teams with these different skill sets and think about how you execute end to end. And if you think about the marketing landscape, it continues to explode from technology. So this is from Chief Martech. They do this thing every year. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, called the Stackies. And basically it's a competition where everyone has to try and visualize the ecosystem, the customer ecosystem. And it gets more and more and more complicated every year. And I love this visual because back in 2014, there are 150 different ways to deliver or different benefits that delivered through Martech. Now we're currently up to 8,000 and it's exploding more and more. And if you think about what's happened with COVID, you'll hear a lot around how digital has basically moved forward 10 years, anywhere between 5 and 10 years, everyone is quoting. And that's because customers have been forced to adopt digital behaviors, whereas before only potentially segments did. So think about banking. COVID resulted in everyone moving to their phone for touchless payments. Okay, so there's been a massive digital revolution in terms of the customer's use of digital and comfort with digital forced about by COVID. So this ecosystem is going to continue to expand. If that wasn't enough, the predictions, whether this is coming from one of the big consulting companies, whether it's coming from the World Economic Forum or individuals, everyone is predicting that the scale of technology-fueled change is increasing exponentially. So what does that mean for marketing? It basically means that everywhere we look, there's 100,000 lists saying, here's what you need to know about marketing. I just pulled this from Googling marketing skills, and here's what came up. 50 essential marketing skills, 14 skills, B2B, B2C, 8 must-have for the modern marketer, 30 essential skills, 40 plus top marketing skills. When I looked into all of these blogs, they're all different. So each of them was taking a different slice of marketing or a different perspective of marketing. And if you think about the people who are listening to this and hearing all of this, there's no synthesis, there's no clarity, there's no alignment. And so it's resulting in a whole lot of, I call it havoc, chaos, complexity, where everyone uses a different buzzword, everyone interprets it slightly differently. And as a marketing community, we're not aligned on what's most important and what's most critical in marketing. So if marketers are struggling with defining marketing, how can we serve our customers and influence our colleagues? So if we're confused, if we're not aligned, if we're using different definitions, if we're using words which mean slightly different things, and no one can achieve a quality knowledge of 50 skills overnight, then how are we as a community actually impacting the customer with consistency, and how are we influencing our colleagues? So in the chat box, question for you all: what makes marketing complicated at your place of work? Oh, can we agree on the number of P's in marketing? Nice one. What do other people think? Many teams and silos. Yes. There are so many silos. Where does it start and stop? That's a great one, particularly between sales and marketing, because that's all about the customer. Yep, changing regulations, too much duplication and approval chains and processes, managing expectations, change and keeping up to date, ROI, CX boundaries, so many products, multiple stakeholders owning different parts, agreed teams and silos that aren't working to common strategy and process. Yes, it all becomes all about execution rather than what are we trying to achieve. Ownership of project management and overlap with sales, systems that don't integrate, data. Agree with all of these. Transition between long-term brand and short-term sales objectives. Absolutely. There are so many drivers that then impact the workplace, because as a marketing community, we're not aligned around what are the fundamentals of marketing in this new world. Okay, recognizing that there are different skills and that there are different teams required to deliver the business outcomes. Okay, so here, what is marketing then? So I also went and started to look at what is marketing. I just put that into Google. And interestingly, adding to the complexity and the confusion, all of these different types of marketing came up. So fascinatingly, there wasn't a lot of definitions of marketing, but there was a lot of examples of different types of marketing. So on the left, we have marketing by vertical or marketing by industry. And there was a lot more than this. So I just put up a few as an example. Down the bottom, we had more marketing to different targets or customer groups. And then to the right, we had the different types of execution of marketing. So whether it's digital, multi-channel, omni-channel, traditional, digital, data, direct, lots of different types of marketing. So that led me to say, what is the definition of marketing? And I think one of the skills of marketers, which we develop and becomes increasingly important in this complex world, is how to get back to the foundation and simplicity that really defines what we're trying to achieve. So what is it the end outcome, regardless of all the different ways to execute that? So I went back to Peter Drucker. He is one of my personal heroes. So Peter Drucker, who is famous for a very holistic understanding of the customer, and has been for decades. So his short definition, he had many long definitions, but his short definition was marketing is the whole business seen from the customer's point of view. So again, customer centricity, going back to the customer. I then looked at some professional bodies and what their definitions were. And we have this from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which started in the UK, but it now operates also in Australia. Marketing is the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. So again, interesting about this one is it's thinking about the whole cycle of customers, but also about commerce. So it's not just for the sake of engagement, it's also the sake of financials. And then lastly, I just looked up Wikipedia, the voice of the people. And here they had marketing refers to activities a company undertakes to promote the buying or selling of a product, service, or good. So with all of that in context, I'd love to hear from you guys. What is your definition of marketing? Just pop it in the chat box. Ability to influence actual products, activities to influence consumer behavior. Great one, Crystal. Product sales. Thanks, Heidi. Marketing is responsible for driving the reputation and revenue of the business. Absolutely. Providing the right service product to the right person at the right time, in the right place, at the right price. Absolutely. Giving consumers a need they never knew they had. Help customers understand how products can help them. Absolutely. So what we've come up with is there are a number of different definitions and none of them are wrong. So what I spent a bit of time doing was stepping back and thinking about, okay, what is my definition of marketing and how does this help us understand what marketing needs to deliver end to end? Because there are a number of different aspects which make marketing valuable. So my definition, marketing is the art and science of engaging the right customers to buy your business. And I think here there are the three elements. One is engaging. So it's not just a matter of telling or shouting or just putting stuff out there. It has to be engaging. It has to be insightful. It needs to speak to them and cut through the 5,000 messages which exist today. It's about the right customers. So as we've moved to a world where data is the foundation, it's not about talking to everyone necessarily. Some businesses, that still makes a lot of sense because they have mass appeal, but for most businesses, it's about really understanding who is the right customer that you're looking to engage to buy your business. And you may have multiple segments. You may have multiple different ways of understanding your customer segmentation. But at the end of the day, we're engaging them for a purpose, which is to buy, or if you're not for profit, to choose your business. And so when you look back at all of the different definitions, regardless of the era, marketing is still about customer management. It's still about how do you get customers, how do you grow customers, and how do you keep customers. The way this is executed is what changes. And this is primarily driven by technology, which we know is going to continue. So as we saw before, we started with traditional, then it went digital. Data is now underpinning a lot of what's happening around CX, personalization, the application of AI. And in the future, there's going to be more. I'm not sure what they're going to be called or what they're going to look like, but there's going to be more technology-led applications for marketing. But the value of marketing is about customer management. So if we take that as the foundation and then start to think about marketing, marketing is about customer management and growth. And everything we do, whether we're what we call digital marketing or traditional marketing or both, let's face it, everything pretty much is digital now, or whether we're working in a bank or whether we're working in consumer packaged goods or whether we're working in a media industry, it is about customer-led growth. And it's about increasing sales. It's about optimizing ROI. Sometimes that's from reducing costs. Sometimes it's about getting better at how we invest our money. And it's ultimately about customer satisfaction, because if they're not satisfied, they won't choose us again. And we all know that getting a return customer is much easier than acquiring a new one. So if we step back, we can say, yes, marketing is about customer management and growth. And this is a visual I developed just a couple of weeks ago, because I find that there's often a lot of confusion around, well, what's brand marketing versus customer experience? They're two sides of the one coin. Brand marketing is what we are saying to engage. So it's covering the positioning, the product, the comms, all the other pieces around how we engage the right customer to buy our business. Customer experience is actually what happens. So did they understand the promise? Did we live up to that promise once they purchased? And was the performance of that whole end-to-end experience going to get them to choose us again? So the center of both brand marketing and customer experience is customer-led growth, the fundamentals of marketing. So I'm interested in the chat box. Is the role of marketing understood and embraced across your company? And I'd like you to answer yes, no, or partly. So I've got a partly from Nick, a no from Raps, partly from Elle, partly. Anne says yes, because it's company of one. Love that. Partly, mostly, yes, partly. Yeah, like quite a few partlies. And I think that says that we have a job to be done, that we have to help people understand what is the role of marketing and how marketing contributes to the growth of a business. Too many partlies. I'm sure all of you would love to have that as a yes. This is an interesting comment. We need to marketing to the market, I reckon. Yeah. Help other people understand marketing. And the reality is people only understand things if they're simple smart. So, you know, all that stuff I showed you earlier with all the stuff around skills and, you know, the words, the new words and the different verticals and categories, that is not helping people understand it. Simplicity and strategic simplicity is how people understand. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, because understanding drives, drives alignment and drives outcomes. Totally agree, Nikki. Less marketing buzz needed. You know, how do we pare it back? And I always use this saying, which is it simple enough for my mum to understand it? And she still thinks I work, I think, on the consumer service centre, because she calls me up and she's like, Ro, you know, this pump, you know, from those J&J products, they just don't work anymore. Can you tell them? And I'm like, thanks, Mum. I'll pass the message on. So we need to think about people who are not in the marketing space when we're helping them to understand the purpose of marketing, and all of that executional detail, we need to distill down into what it means for them. Oh, yes, I've got one here. Less referral to the marketing department as the colouring in department. Rolly eyes emoji. Great one, Jane. Yeah, and that comes from people not understanding that marketing contributes customer-led growth. That comes from people thinking that marketing just do activity. And so there's going to be a real need to reposition, but with what's coming in the future, which I'll talk about really soon, it's going to be easier to at least get that chance to stand up and explain. Okay, so how do we define marketing for today and the future? Now, there's lots of different aspects. So there's current and there's future, because we know that technology-fueled change and hence marketing is going to continue to happen at a frightening rate. They're traditional and digital, or the elements around digital as that continues to explode. There's strategic and executional. There's hard skills and soft skills. There's art and science, there's IQ and EQ. I just thought I'd put these all out there because what we're trying to do is not simple. We need to find a way to help bring this all together, first as a marketing community, and then secondly, as people who can educate and help others understand so they buy in to what needs to be done to grow businesses. Okay, the other thing, and I can't reinforce this enough, is marketing is not just about hard skills, but soft skills. So, you know, I've got this simple visual, and generally in our earlier career, hard skills lead. We're learning about all the fundamentals of marketing and wrapping our heads around insights and strategy and positioning and integrated marketing communication. And that's often when we're learning or reporting into a manager. But as you become a people leader, your soft skills become a lot more important. The irony is that hard skills don't necessarily help you with soft skills. So it's almost like you're going back to scratch. You're going back to start. Snakes and ladders. You climbed up all the ladders and then you take a big snake down and you're back to the start. But these soft skills are absolutely critical in bringing understanding and alignment and helping those who are in different either functions or different teams within marketing, help them understand how do they connect, how do they collaborate, how do they contribute to what is an end outcome. So I want to play this video, which I find amusing, but we'll talk about it afterwards. So let me just play this first.
Allow me to play devil's advocate here, but allow me to be a dick for a second, but with no consequences.
Let's pull back on the first second. I fell asleep while you were talking and I have no idea what's happening. Huh?
I've got a stupid question. It's actually like a really smart question, but I was wondering if I say stupid beforehand, does that make me like kind of modest? Is that like sort of charming thing to do, right?
Let's pick that up in the next meeting. I need a few days to figure out what the hell you're talking about. But with this scale, one of the managing directors once used that phrase in a meeting, so now I use it all the time.
Sorry, this is just a work email I have to answer. I'm actually playing words with friends with everyone else in this meeting but you. Do you know a four-letter word for long-winded?
There's an outside chance you might be right. You're wrong. You're definitely wrong.
I think what you're trying to say is, so what I'm gonna do is take that idea and then make it sound like it was mine.
Let's try to make this viral, okay? I just heard about this site called reddit.com. Can we get on there?
I think we should make this a cross-platform opportunity. I watch Shark Tank.
Let's take this offline. Yeah, can we pick this up again? Just maybe 15 minutes after never again.
Well, that's one idea. It's actually the one idea that sucks the most. So thank you.
This might be off topic. This is off topic, and it's gonna be a problem.
All right, great meeting. So just please send me all your ideas before EOD. This meeting could have just been an email, but I'm very lonely.
Okay. So the point of that is, and the bigger the organization, the more this becomes true. The point is that people are all coming from different perspectives and people all have their own agenda. Okay, so often when we're in meetings, we're not necessarily able to get people to buy in first time or easily. People have their own perspectives, their own position, their own agendas, and often what is said is not actually what people are thinking. And so what we need to do to drive change is to think about not only managing our customers, but also our colleagues. Okay, and I love the Marketunist. If any of you guys like this cartoon, I recommend that you sign up because he releases a new cartoon every week. And it also has a grain of truth around where things don't quite go as they should. So I like this because it's, you know, the marketer going, how can we be more customer centric? But everyone's like, oh, yeah, but that's not my agenda. That's not my objective. You know, good luck with that. So to drive change, soft skills are really important because people are not just going to buy in based on hearing something once. It's based on how you can convince them over time, and that takes great influencing skills. Skills to be able to step into other people's shoes to then bring them to where you know you need to take them. Okay, so just quickly, in the chat box again, as a marketer, how challenging do you find it to make change happen? So is it easy? Is it average? Is it difficult? So I've got a difficult, average, difficult, average, it depends, average, depends. Depends on stakeholders within marketing can be difficult. Oh, that's interesting. Fairly easy pending business objectives. Great point, Tobias. Average. Right, so for most people, it's quite challenging. No one had easy. So I think in the context of, even looking back at the last decade, in my J&J corporate role in 2011, I stepped into an Asia Pacific digital transformation role. That was in 2011, more than a decade ago. And there are still organizations talking about going digital. So with the scale of change increasing, it's going to be really important to develop those soft skills to really help people understand how to buy in. And that's why, it's quite, interesting when we look back at the impact of COVID, because even though digital is very established and the technology is there, a lot of digital transformation was still a decade away. It's only because of COVID that has changed. And so change is not something that is easy to buy into. Change for the future is hard to predict. And it's much easier to say no than yes. But as marketers, we're responsible for following the customer. If the customer changes their behaviors, then we need to get the company on board to capitalize on that commercial opportunity, or have a business which could actually go backwards. Okay, so this brings us to the holistic marketing model. And what this is a strategic blueprint. It's how do we think about marketing as an industry rather than the nuance or the detail of a particular vertical. So this holistic marketing model can help whether you're working in banking, in consumer packaged goods, in fashion, in prestige. It's not about the detailed execution. It's about the principles around how we can manage the customer. Okay, so just to start, I've got the axes with future and current recognizing that there'll be more changes in terms of beyond digital. And we're also thinking about both IQ or hard skills, functional skills, and EQ or soft leadership skills. And we have 4 quadrants, and this basically follows the way that marketing happens operationally. So the first quadrant is around insight, and insight fundamentally is around what my customers need, what does my business need, because I have to balance that, and what competition exists. So how do I actually connect with that customer so they will listen to me and choose me? Strategy, the decisions, the hard decisions, because there's never enough money and there's never enough of everything. But strategy actually helps us be clear, to cut through the complex and do the important things. So strategy is about, what does success look like? What choices will we make? And it's about what we don't do more than what we choose to do, and what is required to get us there. The third quadrant, sorry, is create. So as I build my brand, what makes my brand first choice? Why would someone choose me over someone else? How can I add value by improving my customer's life? And how can I engage them? So how do I create the brand that engages with the right customer so they buy my business? And then finally, it's about activation. How do I connect meaningfully through both channel and content? How do I create great experiences? So it's not just the brand promise, it's also the customer experience. And how do I execute, optimize, and learn? And if we step back, and again, I like to help frame so that there's a balance between all those different dimensions that we've been talking about. The top two quadrants is around insight and strategy, or doing the right things. How do we choose what are the right things? How do we choose what not to do so that we're focused on the things that we're going to do exceptionally well? And then the bottom two quadrants are about doing things right. How do I execute? How do I optimize? How do I get the nuance of my ideas, my positioning, my media strategy? How do I do them well? And it's really the balance of both that makes marketing successful. What I see a lot, particularly over the last few years, as everyone has been challenged with all of the different executional ways to engage with customers, is that there's been a focus on the bottom two quadrants and not enough focus on the top two. Or if the top two are done, they're done, I would say, very quickly, and not with the rigor required in a world where there's a surplus of brands and a surplus of options for customers. So it's really about getting the balance between the top two quadrants with the bottom two quadrants. Now this slide basically shows that there are 12 evergreen capabilities. So each of the quadrants has 3 capabilities. These fundamentally don't change. If I go back to when I started in marketing, maybe other than customer experience, down in the bottom left, these were all part of marketing because this goes back to customer management. So for insight, there's analysis, there's defining the insight, and there's growth priorities. For strategy, it's about targets, developing the strategy and plans, and having the right resources. For create, it's about managing your brand, defining and managing it strategically, creating ideas that are going to engage and bringing innovation to market. And then in activate, it's around getting the right engagement media and content. It's around customer experience and channels and how do you optimize that. And it's about measuring results and taking those learnings from results back into the start. So every business has to answer each of these questions around the 4 quadrants, and the skills that go with that are really important in terms of being able to manage the customer. What's equally important though, and I think this is the differentiator, are the soft skills. So if you think around leadership as an area, there are so many skills in leadership and they're important, but particularly in marketing, leadership is around engaging people for change because the customer changes first and companies have to follow the customers or they'll get left behind. They'll miss out on the opportunities. So if you think about then the evergreen functional capabilities, which are the inner circle, there are also specific soft skills which help to drive impact. So for analysis, you need to have curiosity. For insight, you really need to have empathy and to step into the customer's shoes. To get alignment to growth priorities, you need to be great at storytelling. And it continues around. And the thing which I think is critical for marketers is that we don't just look at the general leadership skills, we look at the soft skills which help us become better marketers. every aspect of marketing means then we can get people to buy in and to basically deliver the outcomes and the change that we're looking for. Okay, so I just want to have a discussion here, and I'm going to put you into breakout rooms just for a couple of minutes. Let's take 5 minutes in breakout rooms. And I want you to discuss in your team, I'm going to put you into teams of about 4. How could a holistic marketing model be helpful at your company? Okay, 1 second. Sending you into breakout rooms. Okay. So please accept your breakout room, and then we'll come back in about 5 minutes.
We were too quick.
We came back when Ro told us we had to come back.
Oh, right. Everyone should be back in a second.
We didn't have enough time. We were just getting to know each other.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We were working on the EQ, Ro.
We were living the model.
I like that. I like it. Oh, dear. Okay, so I think everyone should be back. Yeah. Okay, so does anyone want to share what some of their discussions were about, or what maybe some of their insights were? Is everyone going to be shy?
Okay, I can jump in if you want. Even though we spent a long time getting to know each other, we did also talk about how a holistic model like this is awesome for organizational design or redesign, as I'm going through right now. So just making sure that you're touching on all those skills, capabilities, and covering end to end what you need to set you up for the future.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. That's a great insight, because yeah, it's not just about skills for development, it's about organizational design and how do you help set up the marketing department for success with the other functions as everyone's trying to figure out how to deliver in-market results. Does anyone else want to contribute?
Yeah, in our team, Rowena, one of our team members made a really good point about if you use this model when you're onboarding new staff, no matter what team they're from, you actually show them this so they have a full understanding of what it is, but you actually then, you know, are using your soft skills by influencing them from day dot. So they're completely on board and saying, this is what we do, this is our approach. They understand, you know, the 4 quadrants and then sticking to that, because we said all of us have experienced being guilty, being pulled back into activate and create. So it's just making sure you stay in all 4.
Yeah, really good point. And one of the things we're going to talk about in our last few minutes is career paths. And I think that's really important for that point, Jane, because, you know, when people come in, they want to understand not only how do they contribute now, but potentially what are the roles that they could move into. And what does their development look like in this role, but also in the future? And we know one of the biggest challenges is keeping great talent. So, you know, development is one of the top 3 drivers of why people stay at an organization. And so being able to show someone, you know, here's all the aspects of marketing, here's where you fit in today, but here are what the other teams do, gives them a great roadmap of understanding not only where they could go, but where they may want to go. So let's jump into that in our last few minutes. So what I think is important, and you've just touched on this, Jane, is that the holistic marketing model is not only for defining marketing, it's also thinking about how do you manage talent? How do you manage your people? How do you keep them engaged and developing and offer them career paths within your organization? Because it's really costly if you have high turnover. And in a world where there's constant change, there is always the opportunity to be looking at how do you find new skills that you need to integrate for your business, but how do you leverage the talent that already exists? Because everyone inherently wants to feel valued and wants to be challenged. You know, we all know as you enter into a new job, you may feel challenged for the first 12 to 18 months, but then you can become stuck in your comfort zone and you can become bored. And what's true is a lot of people don't necessarily feel comfortable bringing up that conversation with their managers, particularly when they're more junior. So what's really important is that as leaders, you can have those conversations and you can demonstrate what those career paths look like. So I just want to talk a little bit about this, which is how does the holistic marketing model help my marketing career? And just one piece of data here, there's lots of data out there. And I actually have a white paper, which I've just finished called Capagility, How to Learn with the Speed of Change, which if anyone's interested in, just email me and I'll send it to you. It's a bit of a read, it's about 8,000 words. So, but one piece of data, which is done by the World Economic Forum, and they redid their Future of Jobs report late last year because of COVID, because of the change. But what's really interesting is that marketing is going to become more important. And that's because as technology changes faster, customer behaviors change faster, and hence marketing are the function which are closest to that. And these represent the top 19 jobs in 2025. And you can see marketing's in the top 5, but they're also in 13 of the top 19. So if you haven't read this report, I recommend that you do. It's a very comprehensive, very robust piece of analysis done by the World Economic Forum. And it helps you really understand how technology is going to impact the world of work, but also the type of jobs that it's going to impact and which ones are going to be more valuable. So as we think about career shapes, What is going to be more important is multiple depth. Now, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but what it means is that it won't help you anymore by just being a specialist and then coming up the line to then become a senior leader. Okay, so back in the 90s, when I joined in marketing, my marketing director had done that. He was T-shaped. You know, he came up through marketing and just moved from assistant brand manager to marketing manager to marketing director. And then he operated at the board level. And that's the T-shaped visual that you see there. Because of the depth of new skills and specialist skills, what is going to be valuable is how do you take multiple specialisms over your career and use that to inform your broad general knowledge. So it's building from the base, but multiple bases. And it's going to take time. So it's not going to be fast, you know, like potentially it was 10, 20 years ago. It's going to take time, because that deep understanding of all of those different elements is what will make you a great commercial leader. The soft skills will make you a great people leader. And the reason why those soft skills will be the differentiator is because it's going to be about change leadership. So I don't know what the technologies will look like and the applications and how they will impact customers. What I do know is there will be an impact and businesses struggle to keep up. So helping people move is going to be critical, and marketers are the ones closest to the customer. So it's going to be a change leadership role that will really enable businesses to thrive. And marketing will be right at the coalface of that customer-led change before the other functions, sales and marketing. So the soft skills will be the differentiator, because it's how you can get everyone to change with you. And if you think of the career implications, you know, here are the two visuals, the traditional career path of the T-shape versus the cone shape. And I think with this, it's really important to see zigzagging as a real positive. You know, it's not like a delay to moving up, it's the way to move up. And it's a combination of specialist and generalist roles. We all know that, you know, when you suddenly move into a different role, perhaps before it gave you tension and frustration, but once you move into those shoes, you suddenly understand it from a different perspective. And it's that depth of knowledge to be able to connect the pieces, which will help you move up. So I know a lot of people often are looking for that, like that move up, you know, the T-shape, the up, up, up. But ultimately, that is not going to get you to CMO of the future. It's going to come from those who have multiple depth of understanding across those different aspects of marketing. And the soft skills, especially those that influence and drive alignment, will be the differentiator. So don't think it's only about the specialisms and functional skills. They will give you the understanding of how this operates and how to drive integration to get those end-to-end outcomes. It's the soft skills, particularly influencing peers in other functions or working well with teams who don't understand your skills and you don't understand their skills, but how do you use those soft skills to bridge gaps to drive the outcomes when it's a scary future. We're moving from best practice to next practice, and that means you don't have 20, 30 years of history to go, we know this works. Hence the importance of influence. So in summary, marketing skills have exploded and they'll continue to explode in the future. That's pretty much a given. However, as you see all of the different buzzwords and elements of marketing, just remember there's the same purpose. It's about engaging the right customers to buy your business. Marketing will be a change leadership function, and that's why soft skills are critical as well as the functional hard skills. And just remember, depending on your vertical or your industry, you don't need to understand every skill. Some skills are more important to different verticals. So what's important is you focus on the functional skills that are relevant to your business model. A holistic marketing model helps marketing teams and organizations focus on what's important to build the right capabilities. And marketing will increase in value as a career. However, this value will be unlocked through deep breadth. So be prepared to zigzag. And I know I've got a comment in the chat box from Raz. So Raz, did you want to turn yourself off mute and comment to everyone?
Yeah, if I can elaborate, I like the comp person, but I think it's not enough. Getting to the CMO is it's an aspiration, but getting to the higher than that, to the CEO suite, where most marketers are struggling to reach, and definitely to the board level, because God knows how much we need marketers in the board. On boards, it's not enough just to be across marketing. You need to be across everything: operations, finance, legal, compliance, everything. And,
I totally agree. I totally agree, Raz. And I think if you use that principle of the cone shape, it applies within marketing, but it applies beyond marketing. And as a CMO, the key people you're influencing and need to understand are your cross functions. So opportunities to move into sales, into other functions, also will give you that breadth to be able to understand how to integrate. So I couldn't agree with you more. And thank you for contributing that, because it's not just about marketing, it's about that holistic understanding of how to grow a business. So just as a last thing, if people have time, I know we're slightly over, but I'd love to know what's your biggest takeout for today. Any takeouts from anyone, or you're still processing? Oh yeah, some great points here. Okay, so I like the holistic model, and we'll definitely be implementing the 4 quadrants. Love the doing the right thing and doing things right. Increasingly complex world, the fundamentals still remain true, so true. Holistic model showing soft and hard skills. Loved it. Thank you, Jane. I think the career profiling paths and how that is changing, very useful, this framework. I love the slide with the different terms of what makes up modern marketing. The importance of finding balance between soft and hard skills and open to zigzagging. Yes. The career paths and reminder about zigzagging. I'm doing that now. Yes, yes, Heidi. Good move. And processing. Yes, there are a lot of different things behind this which have different applications. So yeah, so there's a question, will I be sharing these slides? I'll be putting it up onto the onto my YouTube channel. And I'm also sharing the white paper, which has a lot of this content behind it. So if anyone's interested in that, then please just email me, which is my details are here. So I know most of you on this call, I think, but for anyone who doesn't know me as well, I'm passionate about marketing, customer experience, and also how that's supported through capability, culture, and change. So I help clients and companies through consulting, through training, and also through bespoke projects. So if you're ever interested in having a chat, or if you would like my help with anything, then please feel free to reach out. My email is there, and also my website. So Lots of lovely messages coming from you all. Thank you so much for coming. And if anyone wants to stay on and talk, I'll keep the Zoom open for another 15 minutes, but I appreciate if people need to go. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rowena. It's Heidi. I've got to go, but I wanted to say a very personal thank you. Like, I really needed to hear this today, and it was a good reminder as I'm stepping in my new role.
You're welcome. It's so lovely to hear your voice, Heidi.
Oh, likewise. And I'm loving the artwork behind you as well.
Oh, see, they're pictures that David took.
Did he? Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
styling. I'm actually styling my house at the moment because we're selling it. So it's the first thing I kind of noticed, apart from you, of course.
I know. Oh, well, thank you, Heidi. Thank you for joining.
No worries. You take care and tell David I said hello, and
I
look
will.
forward to any future ones you run as well.
I will, definitely.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. I just wanted to say thank you as well, because it's perfect timing, because we're just re-looking at our whole structure. So perfect tool to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got another framework which helps if you're looking to operationalize it into structure.
Yes.
I can't remember if I've shared it with you, but it's the one that goes like outputs, tasks, capability, structure.
Oh, okay. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I can send it to you, because if you don't start with the outputs, like a lot of the, you know, the drive is to suddenly go, here's the org chart and let's move things around. You don't get alignment on that sequence.
Yes. Yeah.
Then it can kind of end up not helping.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I'll send you the links to it and you can have
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Okay. Thank you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Take care, Kelly.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. I think it's just you and I, Rachie.